So we'll see how we go. Let me just set up a couple other things here, and then we'll get into a couple of questions. Sorry, we just got a couple of things we got to do here. Just bear with me a little bit here. I've just got to delete a couple other, the live thumbnails have doubled up a bit here, so just bear with me. Okay. Even Hank's taking a deep breath in the background here and want to know what the hell's going on. So just a couple more seconds, and I'll have this done. All the live stuff is still fairly new to me, guys. If you can hear me, please give me the thumbs up and let me know in the comments here. Should be able to hear me. I'm still working out on how to set it up with my other camera, but you should be able to see clear enough and be able to hear clear enough, you know, with this as well. Okay, so that looks like I've done that fine now. Okay. All right, so guys, for those of you who just joined us, thanks very much for joining us on the June Q&A. We're trying to do a few more of these, you know, live and, you know, I guess add a little bit more personal touch to it all. So hope you do enjoy it. So I'm going to go through a few of the questions here that I've got on Patreon for this month. Now, obviously, I prioritize the guys who do that because it doesn't matter whether they donate $1 a month or they donate $100 a month. You know, they still get that same personal help with questions that they've got. So that will be a priority with this. So let's start off. First question I got here is from Michael, and he says, "Hi Ozzy, you mentioned in some of your videos where under your contract license you can carry a handgun for wild dogs. What is the process for getting a license for that? How would it compare to a primary producer or in New South Wales where you require a medical certificate, and what kind of handgun would you require?" Okay, so there's a couple of aspects of that question there, Mike. So I'll try to answer it as best as I can. In New South Wales, I believe that you can't have a handgun there for feral pest control or for primary production. I'm happy to stand corrected if you know, you guys in New South Wales can offer something more there. But when I was doing that all the time, that was how it was down there. I couldn't cross the border with a handgun. I could only cross the border with A, B, or C firearms. I couldn't cross the border with Cat D firearms, believe it or not, even if I had contracts in New South Wales that require it. As for actually getting the license now, my view is they definitely make it as hard as possible for a reason, because as part of the process, you need to have roughly about 4 contracts to provide the firearms registry before they'll consider approving your license. Now, you tell me what person is going to sign up a contract when you don't even have the license, you know, to be able to conduct that work. So it makes it very, very hard. For me, I was lucky because, you know, I started off many years ago just doing recreational shooting for a couple of properties. So I was doing recreational pest control, so, you know, which is hunting. Now, what happened is as that went on, I started to get a little bit more popular with these properties and they were wanting me back there all the time. And I was getting to the stage where it was just like, oh, geez, this is no longer just a hobby or a little bit of fun. What's happening now is I'm actually finding it, I've got to really put aside my own time to do this, not just now and then whenever I feel like it. So what happened then was, I already had many, many properties that were on board with me. So they were more than happy to sign up a contract there. So that's how I got into it. A lot of other people and a lot of the people on Patreon who do donate to get a lot of advice from me, and that is mainly to get into feral pest control. And they find it very, very difficult when they get to that stage, because you basically have to have been doing it on a recreational basis, but now you're being offered money. So that's where the line is. Okay, so when you're doing it recreationally for no money, knock your socks off. You can have all the fun shooting in the world, but as soon as you're paid for it, well, then technically that's not recreational shooting. That is an occupational role that you're going into because you're being paid for it. Therefore, you must have an occupational license. So that's where the fine line is with that, and you've got to obviously have people who can help you by signing up a contract with you to get over the line. Now, I'll give you a little bit more information on the contract, because people say, okay, so what's the deal with the contract? How does it look? All that sort of thing. I used to always have it quite open-ended, because you can't lock people into a money or a fixed money or monetary amount, I should say. So in other words, like if you're looking at going after wild dogs, say, okay, somewhere in southeast Queensland where they're quite prevalent, you may only come across a dog or two in that night. You may come across more. So you've got to tailor the price to cover your time and obviously ammunition. Yet if I go out and I was contracted on a 120,000 acre property out west, and the amount of ammo that I would use there was a hell of a lot more than what I would be using in southeast Queensland chasing dogs, for example, because out there I was doing, pigs, and I've also been doing scrub bulls on different western properties. So, you start to really have to tailor the price that you charge to that individual circumstance on that property, if that makes sense. So when it comes back to the contract, what you simply do in that contract is the wording you have there, results will be, payment will be results based. So in other words, you're not locking that person into a fixed monetary amount. You're leaving it open-ended where they're saying, yes, we want your services, and the results will be paid. So depending on what those results are. So if the farmer, for example, wants you to sit off, his herd of cattle and young calves for that night for wild dogs, well, that's going to be a waiting game, and there's going to be a lot of time in that, as opposed to, okay, I've just got an absolute feral pig problem running through my wheat. Go out there and just hammer the lot. Well, you're going to come across heaps of them, and you're going to be shooting and shooting and shooting. So, yeah, so that's two different things there. So I hope that sort of answers your question with regards to, the process for getting that. It is drawn out, mate. Like, that's the thing. Any one of you guys, and I wish I just had $1 for every time I was asked this question, but for any of you guys who are wanting to get into feral pest control, you have to make the decision, first of all, that yes, I will not give up, and yes, I will not be deterred. Because if you doubt yourself for one moment, they will throw every speed bump in your way to try to deter you. And then if you're going for Cat D, they'll try to deter you by saying, oh, look, we'll just approve it now, but for Cat C. Stuff like that. There's always deterrence, and you've got to stick to your guns, so to speak, and go, well, no, the work I'm doing requires this, because you're no longer going out there recreationally shooting, where you might shoot a pig or something and then you get a photo or a selfie with it. That's not how it works. Once you start doing this for money, farmers will basically hit the roof if you're sitting there trying to take photos of everything, other than getting out there and just hammering all the pests that you see And then at the end of it, you might send a few photos of the piles of animals that you've culled for that customer. So that's how it works there. So coming back to the last part of your question there on the handgun. So handguns for me were simply a backup. So if my primary firearm failed, so in other words, like you used to have a for feral pest control, the Ruger SR556 and the SR762. So semi-automatic 223 and semi-automatic 308. Now, if one of them would fail, I would have a handgun on me there where I could quickly use it as a backup. I only ever had to do that a couple of times where it was more just the thick scrub that I was in. I found a handgun very useful in that scenario, but also to simply put down an animal that, say, had been winged on the run. So what I mean by that is, say, for example, you've got a pig that you've shot on the run, and yes, it's still alive, but obviously it's heads down, it's going around in circles. Well, you want to be able to euthanize that animal. So instead of spending another $2 or $1, I would simply use a handgun. And what handgun did I have? Well, I had two handguns. So I had a revolver, and then I had a semi-auto, and I had both of them in 22 LR. So I had the Ruger SR22, just a little short, so it's not range legal, although there is a model for that now. So I had that, and also had a Ruger revolver, both absolutely excellent for the job. And, I simply spent like 10 cents, putting an animal down there rather than spending $1, because you've got to remember, you're out there doing this as a business. So do you want to be using the most absolute premium ammo to just simply put an animal down once it's been winged? Or would you like to spend 10 cents and obviously make a healthier profit on your work for the day? So, yeah, so I hope that answers your question there, mate. I'm speaking naturally for those of you who don't know for Queensland, because that's, where I am and where I operated the business for many years. Okay, so next question I got here is from Bill. And he says, "G'day, Aussie. Looking well, young fella." Well, thank you, sir. I read something the other week about military sporters being rechambered in 3030. It kind of ticked my interest as I've been pondering my hunting choice over the last few months. I've looked at new gear. What I'm looking for is a good bit of kit but cheap to run. What's your thoughts, mate? I'm looking for something that can achieve 300 meters, maybe something other than 3030 or another rifle make. As they say, a many good tune can be played with an old fiddle. Cheers, Bill. All right, mate. Well, thank you for that. Mate, basically, look, if you're looking at a military sporter or something along the lines of that, and I'm pretty sure a lot of the viewers out there will back me up on this one, go get yourself a 303. That will knock down anything you want to knock down within 300 meters, that's for sure. The only problem with obviously doing that is you're not going to have the wide availability of ammunition that you do with 308. Just keep that in mind. For me personally, this is only my personal take on it. I'm not a fan of, and I wouldn't be a fan of a Lee Enfield in 3030. Just wouldn't be me. It's just not my preference. But I'm not saying it wouldn't be fun or anything like that. It's just me personally. I'd probably just stick to a 303 if I was going to go down that track. Or, what's also commonly available is 6.5 by 55, the Swedish Mauser. Absolute brilliant caliber, that. And I think to myself, I often laugh at a lot of people who are getting the 6.5 Creedmoor. Now, I know, with reloading and everything, it was made for a specific purpose with being a very accurate long-range target round. But, people have been shooting 6.5 by 55 for many, many years with very, very similar results, because when you look at the ballistics, I tell you what, it's nibbling on the heels of 6.5 Creedmoor, and it's a much, much older cartridge. So, yeah, so that'd be my thoughts on it, mate. Look, at the end of the day, if it's something that you want to get into, by all means, jump into it. And just have a whole heap of fun, because, as you say, a good tune can be played with an old fiddle, so to speak. And, that's the fun of shooting. Like, we all have our different likes and, preferences in the whole shooting world. If that sort of thing takes your interest, like you say, mate, go for it, and do us a favour, give us a range report on it, because I'd love to hear how it shoots and what you think of it. Okay, so next question we got here is from Stuart. He says, "Hi Aussie, I noticed SSAA Victoria are promoting this new legislation applied to farmers concerning the new biohazards with weed seeds or plant material and noxious pests into evolving biohunters. I mean, besides wind, birds and floods being the major spreaders of other noxious pests, surely this is a ploy to get farmers to pack up shop, and again, another plot to make it harder for hunters. Now we have to be bio-conscious when helping farmers. Does that mean we need to get permits to remove pest animals from properties because they could contain prohibited plant material, or risk fines for breaching legislation? Don't worry about the odd loose bullet anymore. A boot with mud and grass in it, or tyre, or even on the floor mat is a trigger for a full-scale search and risk infringement. I suppose this would suffice as an unfit and proper person to hold a firearms license because of some grass in your truck or person. We have all had seeds in our socks. What are your thoughts? Am I overthinking it? Look, mate, I will admit when it comes to legislation, what is actually legislated and then what is actually regularly enforced, a lot of the time are two very different things across the board. But in saying that, I don't like the fact that there's a lot of legislation that, in my view, is extremely strict and way over the top, and it's just sitting there. And you'll see different people in government go, "Oh, you don't need to worry about that." Yeah, that's right. You don't need to worry about it until you have to worry about it. So this sort of thing, yes, it does concern me. It would be hard. So, like, I'm thinking what comes into my mind immediately is this week I've been doing a heap of spraying here on the farm for fireweed. Okay, so if people don't know what that is, you can just do a Google search, but it's a little yellow flower that comes up in the wintertime. And on some properties, it absolutely explodes, and it's just a field of yellow flowers. And a lot of people from the city look at it and go, "Oh, isn't that so pretty?" Yeah, no, it's not. It's a terrible weed to try to get rid of. Because it does spread so easily in the wind, and it'll sit there for a couple of years in the soil and then it just explodes. So, that, for example, so if I had a field full of fireweed and I had like hunters on my property and they were walking through that, and then they went into another paddock that I had treated, well, yeah, that's going to possibly spread it there. However, the common sense in me I would simply say to the people on the property, "Hey, look, guys, this back block that I've got here, that's got a heap of fireweed coming up and all the rest of it. Can you just sort of make sure you don't walk through the middle of the field there, like go around the outskirts, and if there's something to shoot there, by all means, go for it." But, just a bit of common sense. I mean, and any landowner, I mean, legislative wise, you're required to take action against pest animals and pest weeds to the best of your ability to make sure that they're not present or minimised on your block. So, I mean, if you're already minimising it, you shouldn't have a heap of that stuff there. And as you say, like, you can get a bit of dirt and grass that's in a boot, and it could have, very small seeds in there. You wouldn't know. I mean, how would you know? So, yeah, look, mate, I do agree with what you're saying. And I think it's something for concern, because this is the problem with a lot of the legislation. How many times as shooters have we all been told, "Oh, it's for your safety, community safety," and because they use these catchphrases all the time to basically make you second guess yourself in speaking out against it, because you go, "Oh, I don't want to speak against public safety." Yeah, that's fine, but when it's not really for public safety, because you can see right through it, by all means, speak up about it. And I think a lot of us should speak up about it. And it'll be a damn cold day in hell when I don't speak up about something that I see that is completely wrong. I mean, the moment that we all do that, guys, what have we got left? All of us need to join together and speak up. And when I say speak up, it doesn't mean, yelling, screaming, abusing, swearing at people or anything like that. It means simply, putting your point across and telling people why you don't agree with it. nowhere does it say you must be a compliant citizen and and just basically bow down to every single idea that comes our way as shooters. You can speak up about things and say, well, no, I don't agree with this because of X, Y, Z. And I've said that previously, and some things actually have changed for the better. So it's not all doom and gloom as such. There's a lot of, I guess, tidal waves against us, but you've got to join together and speak out with it. So, look, I won't waffle on too much more about that, Stu, but yes, I think it's an area of concern. But once again, those people, just in summary there, whoever are enforcing that, so they would have to know what property you came from. I can't see it being a problem unless it was a problem with the farmer, and I can only put myself in, put my farming hat on and go, okay, well, yeah, if I had someone moving around and spreading pest weeds around, but like honestly, that's like the most minimal part of your problem with farming. Like having shooters walk from paddock to paddock. Well, what about the roos that bounce paddock from paddock? The feral peaks, I mean, they carry all sorts of viruses that can affect your cattle as well. There's so much more in the bigger scheme of things than, pest seeds. That's my view on it. So, yeah, I can't really say much more about that. Okay, so next question I got here is from Andrew. He says, hi Ozzy, will there ever be a time of the foreseeable future that one might be able to purchase ammunition that they want? For example, 6.5 Creedmoor in Hornby ELD match, or even ADI ammunition such as 223 69 grain, Australian produced, based here in central Queensland. I've been looking for 6 months or more. I guess, mate, it comes back to what I've been saying for so many years now on the channel. Get what you can while you can. I say it all the time, and every opportunity that you've got, stock up, because one, it's not going to get cheaper. Two, it just doesn't suddenly become more available, and we've seen that, over the years. So, get what you can while you can. But to answer your question directly, look, mate, yes, I am, I'm sure, but you've got to really look when it comes to firearms, what the political climate is in the US. Now, at the moment, they've got obviously threats with trying to erode all their Second Amendment rights, and I mean, even completely remove their Second Amendment rights. So anytime there's even a sniff of that in the US, Americans buy up firearms and ammunition, like I'm talking insane levels. So that then flows on down here in Australia and other parts of the world that, places like Hornady would be shipped to. So as for Australian ammunition, why it's not able to be produced, perhaps, mate, like ring around a couple of the gun shops in more of the major centres and see if they've got any, because there may just be a possibility that in central Queensland, I don't know, do they have it on back order? That's what I'd be asking. And then I'd be asking the firearm dealer, well, have they got it on back order? When is it going to come in? Or I've seen it at other gun shops in whatever state or whatever town, and just get to the bottom of it. I mean, then they can just simply make a call, to ADI and then find out what's going on. That's the way I'd approach it anyway. Next question I got here is from Darren. He says, hey, mate, do you intend on reviewing the new Australian-built Genesis 1 rifle produced by Enfield Arms in Queensland and will be distributed by Ray Trade with a recommended retail price of $15.95. I read a review in Sporting Shooter magazine. Look, I've only seen a picture of it, mate. I haven't really read into it too much. To me, it just looks kind of along the lines of the AR type build. So, but supposedly very strong and tough. So, look, yeah, by all means, if I got my hands on one, I would very, very much like to, have a look at it. I think, excuse me, I think too, guys, one thing that I will say now is a lot of firearm manufacturers, companies, that sort of stuff have very much dwindled off in the last couple of years with me. And mainly that's because I don't budge. with them. And when you first deal with them, they'll try to flood you with gifts and support and everything, which is all well and good. But the whole thing is, when you then stick to your guns, so to speak, and start releasing reviews of their products that they're not happy with the way that you may have worded it, or they're not happy that you've shown something that's negative, then a lot of them become really nasty, quite nasty. And I'm sure a lot of you will understand what I'm saying. I mean, you've only got to check the comments on some of those reviews, and you can easily see there that they're minions of that company, and they get these fake accounts and they make all these comments and everything. And why do you know that? Because some of the comments are stuff that have only been between a conversation of myself and that company. So how does anybody else know about it? But they get on there and they try to create drama and all that. And I just laugh it off and go, yeah, okay, well, for example, if I've got a firearm that, isn't working and there's a problem with it, it's funny how many of my viewers then come forward with the same problems. So that pretty much answers the question there. So yeah, so getting back to that, Darren, like, would I review it? Yeah, I would, mate. If I was approached, I probably would. I take my hat off to companies that, still, really do ask me, hey, look, Ozzy, will you please have a look at our new product? Yep, don't care what you say about it, just honest viewpoint on it, because they know that, like, I'm not going to just bag the product. I'm not out there swearing, carrying on like a 2-bob watch. And they know that if their product really is good quality and it shoots well, it's built well, it functions well, that works out very much in their favor. If it isn't, a company will either do one or two things. They'll either take their ball and go home and have a big sulk and then try to discredit me and blah, 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 blah. So once again, I just laugh at that. Or what they'll do is they'll say, mate, thank you so much for your feedback. We're improving the product. Would you like to have a look at it again? Yeah, absolutely, I would. And those companies end up doing very well because obviously it's just like any of you guys who are going to be out at a range. Like, you're going to give those companies feedback. The only difference is, guys, like, I've got a camera going. That's it. There's no difference between myself and you guys. Like, you would look at something and give your feelings and thoughts honestly when you're shooting it at the range or wherever else. So it's the same thing. So yeah, so Darren, hope that answers your question on that one, mate. Yeah, if given the opportunity, I'd certainly have a look at it and just give it a 100% honest review. Okay, so last Patreon question we got here, guys, is from Les. He says, hi, mate, I'm new to shooting and went to a shooting range for the first time last weekend. Wow, I love the sport and can see myself participating for some time to come. The big question I have is this: the noise is mind-blowing at the range. Why on earth aren't we allowed to have suppressors at the ranges? It would cut noise right down to save your ears and allow you to concentrate better on your shooting and keep the surrounding areas unaware of the noise. 100% agree with you. If you do a quick search on Google, you'll see, for example, the SSAA Belmont have been subject to numerous community complaints about the noise coming from the range. Now, I did this years ago. When I did the template letter many, many years ago, we're trying to fight the National Firearms Agreement changes that they were having back then. I went into every aspect of shooting that I could go to, backed up with stats, links, and everything to justify why we should have everything, even up to category D. And when it came to suppressors, I spoke in depth about the complaints that rangers get, not only hearing loss and hearing protection. Now, from my understanding, and look, I'm certainly no legal eagle on the Workplace Health and Safety Act. However, does it not say in the workplace health and safety legislation across Australia that a business must provide a safe workplace for customers as well? So there's an obligation on businesses, to provide that safe workplace. Now, safe workplace includes noise and, excluding people from very loud noises, which is what you're going to be suffering there, Les, if you go to any ranges, especially when they're undercover, because the noise is just doubled or tripled in some cases. So where I'm going with this is I see absolutely no reason whatsoever that there shouldn't be suppressors legalized for all shooters, um, not just occupational ones. Why is the hearing of myself as a farmer more important than the hearing of, say, you, Les, as simply a guy who's going to the range and wanting to enjoy his new sport? We both have hearing. We both should have hearing protection. And there can never be enough of that in my view. So in other words, I don't care if you've got the best earplugs in the world that are just awesome. Why not cut down on that noise pollution even more and use suppressors? I mean, if you go over to like New Zealand, for example, completely legal there. Even after all these changes after the Christchurch shooting, completely legal. Nothing has changed there. Go to the UK. The time when I was younger, I spent time, in Europe, and I when I was a teenager growing up, and it was neighbourly to use suppressors. Like if you didn't use a suppressor on especially a large caliber firearm, like you'd basically get a slap over the head from the neighbours going, what are you trying to do? You're just trying to peeve everyone off, or what are you trying to do here? So yeah, but no, not Australia. We've got this mentality that suppressors are for assassins and James Bond types and all the rest of it, and it's just wake up to yourselves. Like it's honestly, like I really feel we are the laughing stock of the shooting world. Here with many decisions like that, when you have suppressors all around the world and even in countries that have extremely strict gun laws, no issues with suppressors. So my view is there is absolutely no evidence to not make them legal for all shooters. Okay, guys, so that concludes the Patreon questions. We will actually get to a couple of questions here. I'll have a look through and, and see how, the comments and everything like that is going. But what I'll talk about is what's new at Aussie Reviews, okay? So basically, wow, I've got a lot of stuff going on, like up until June 30. Thank God that is over. Like I have just been go with that. Heaps of stuff happening here on the farm, from, doing spraying, and there's been earthworks and a heap of stuff going on there. So, that takes me away from doing reviews, but unfortunately I've got to do that. I've over doubled the amount of stock that I'm carrying here on the farm. Stock meaning, cattle. So, I've been very busy doing that. And as for reviews, I've actually got, and I've sort of been holding off a bit, guys, from showing you because I want to, I guess, surprise you with it. But I got a new AR-15. Okay, so I'm going to give a shout out to the guys at Gun City in Christchurch. So they were the guys who sorted me out with it, and I'll talk about the particulars of it a bit later, I guess. I don't know, maybe I'll admit it here or talk about it here, but anyhow, basically, it was not bad, the price. However, on import, then getting hit with like $1,200 import duty, stung a bit more and everything like that. But yeah, I've got this new AR. I've got a ridiculous amount of cool furniture for it, even a handful of really custom, awesome triggers. So I will be reviewing that. And when I say reviewing it, obviously showing me the sighting in process to work out for myself which ammunition will be suitable for use here on the farm, and give you a closer up look there. I've also been doing a few more shorts because, like I don't know, I have to check it again, 600 and something videos, from the last, I don't know, what, 10 odd years that this has been going. Now, the thing with it is anyone who comes to the channel obviously isn't going to know all the videos, and they probably don't have the time unless they're looking for something specific to go back into those videos and have a look. So, some of the more highlights, I guess, I'd like to start putting in some shorts, videos that go for like 30 seconds, just showing off, some different products or some different highlights from, in the past, as well as obviously putting up new equipment there. So yeah, I'm going to be doing that. If you haven't seen it, I've done the shorts on, just playing around with slow-mo. So, I got a hare or jackrabbit, as some of you guys may know them as, and I was able to capture that in 1,000 frames a second slow-mo using 22 Magnum with the 30 grain Hornady VMAX. I tell you, to have that opportunity to get a basically a hare or a rabbit to stay still for that amount of time, or crouch down thinking I can't see it, and then set the camera up, be able to line everything up. It took so long to do, and all it is basically 30 seconds of film for your enjoyment. But I tell you, decent work went into that, and then I, in the more summer months, go out and always clean up the cane toads and everything, because I don't want them, jumping in Lake Hank's water bowls and all that sort of stuff, and they are a feral pest. So we do, definitely try to, clean up as many ferals as we can. But the slow-mo adds a whole new realm to things. I really enjoy doing it. So yeah, have a look at that. In the next probably 2 weeks, I've got a heap of new gear from Olight. Yep, they were monitoring me to see when I was on my feet again from hospital, and bang, an email straight away. So, I have to hand it to them. They're pretty aggressive with their marketing and all that sort of stuff. So, a couple of really good lights there, torches to have a look at, and they've gone into making knives now. Fairly affordable knives, but made from pretty good quality too. So I'm keen to have a look at them. So, for those people who can't afford, like, say like your Benchmades and some of the really expensive brands, this may be an affordable option to you as well. So I've got a few of them to look at. I got a CZ 22 LR synthetic, so I want to do that review, but then I want to put it head to head with the Ruger American as well. So I did that recently in 22 Magnum, and that seems to be received really well. So I'd like to be able to do that with that, and a bit more interest there. One of the big things I've got coming, a good handful of you guys have said to me, Aussie, you ever review a 22-50? Well, no, I haven't, but it's coming. So I've got one coming in the brand new Seiko 90. Okay, so yeah, that was something that I thought would be of great interest to a lot of people, because 22-50 is obviously very, very popular cartridge here in Australia, and for good reason as well. So those of you who want to see what my thoughts are on the 22-50, well, keep an eye out for that review. It's going to be coming as well. So yeah, guys, a few things going on. I had a hell of a lot going on. Well, this month's just gone, being June. Family-wise and stuff like that. Unfortunately, we've had a few deaths in the family, and right up until yesterday, I had an uncle. Unfortunately, he passed on his birthday. Had basically a heart attack. Terrible, but so family are sort of coming together with that. But it's like everything. We all have these influences in our lives that, I guess, take up our time at the most unexpected times. So enough about that, guys. Let me just let me have a quick look through the comments here. I love the comments, guys. Keep them coming. So, yeah, let me go through. Sorry, just bear with me here a bit, guys. I'll go down. Let's just start at the bottom here. All right, so let's have a look. Sorry, I just got to read a couple of these. Okay, so I'll answer Matt Newman here. So, hi Ozzy, hope you're doing well. I'm looking at buying my first hunting rifle and been eyeing off the Mauser M18 in either 308, 30-06 or 7mm Remington Magnum. What are your thoughts on this rifle, mate? Look, I haven't actually reviewed the M18, and I'd really like to. Mauser have been around for a very, very long time and have a really good name. As for the calibers, I mean, where are you located. If you're in WA, I would highly suggest you wouldn't go for 7mm Remington Magnum, because I've got a sneaky suspicion that's going to be on their next ban list. But 308, 30-06, it just depends what your use is there. I mean, for hunting, like hunting distances, even if you're shooting really out to say like 200, there's not going to be any real difference on those calibers on game, the correct shot placement. You're going to drop them. There's no two ways about it. All right, let's have a look here. What else we got here? Okay, so Andrew says, I'm setting up a Ruger Precision rimfire in 22LR for PRS match and have the Vortex Diamondback Tactical 4 to 16 by 44. What height rings would work best? I would say you will probably be able to get away with mediums on that. So, mate, I would probably look at, if you go to the shop and have a look at the gun shop, because I've been caught out before where not all rings are the same with their height. They might say mediums and there'll be a difference in the actual height. But, you should be able to get away with medium with that. The best thing is obviously have those rings, if you can get them at the shop there, to put it on the firearm and just have a look through and just see where that sits for you, okay? Because if it's offset and it's not going to line up with your sight alignment, you're going to be able to see that. I mean, you can adjust the Ruger Precision for that anyway, but you should be able to get away with that. If not, then definitely high will work. But mate, I would definitely go to a shop and ask them and tell them what's going on. And that's the great thing about being able to walk into a gun shop, is because you can actually do that without trying to do it over, the internet. All right, let's have a look here. Okay, so Tracer123 is talking about knives. Yes, there's a couple of good brands there. FDIC are the actual skinning knives that I use, and boning knives, like really nice, and yes, that's right. That's what a lot of butchers use amongst, other brands that you've mentioned there. All right, let's scroll back a bit here. Okay, so Redneck Rumbler, Aussie, are these questions scripted or are you taking questions from chat? No, obviously the questions I'm reading out now are live, but the Patreon questions are submitted to me every month via Patreon. So I've got Patreon supporters there, and they're free to ask as many questions as they want. And it doesn't even have to be in this video. I regularly get private emails on Patreon from supporters there asking me all sorts of questions. So I dedicate my time to them. Unfortunately, I just can't dedicate my time to the whole wide shooting community, because I was doing that at one stage and it was out of control. Like, I was just spending all day, every day, getting nothing done here on the farm, for example, and not being able to do other things that I want to do, like reviews, because I was trying to help everyone that I could who was just firing questions at me all day. So yeah, I just can't do that. And that's why I had to basically limit the answering of questions to those of you who are on Patreon and who support me that way, okay? However, with this live chat, I would like to sort of, dedicate some time after I do it to just going through and just picking out some random questions as well. All right, guys, so let's have a scroll through and see if anything else stands out here. All right, so let's just have a look at the newest question that's just come up from ASDF Man. Hey, Aussie, thinking of buying a Templeton T2000 shotgun. Any advice for a new shotgun buyer? I actually want to review that shotgun. I'm very, very keen to review it. So, yeah, mate, basically, out of the shotguns that I have reviewed, it depends on what your purpose is. And this is where a lot of people get, I think a little bit, I guess, confused, is they don't really know what they're actually going for, as in the purpose. Like, is it game? And if so, what game? What are you going to do? Like, I mean, if you're going out duck shooting, excuse me, for example, you're not going to be using like a tack shotgun that you'd be going after pigs for, with a shorter barrel and in the scrub. Like it's just not the same thing. So depending on what you're doing, I mean, the Buckmaster that I reviewed, a lot of people are loving that because obviously it allows those fast follow-up shots. They've dropped the price, I think, by about $500 since I've done the review to come into more competitive, I guess, or competitively priced against the Bushmeister and, other Turkish shotguns that are around that price range. All right, so let's go with another question here. Sebastian, I recently got a Marlin 336. What do you think is better, red dot or scope? Mate, once again, what are you using it for? If you're using it for fast shots on the run, definitely a red dot is more advantageous than, say, like a 3 to 9x40 scope on it. For me, a lot of hunting distances, averages, and I've said this numerous times, about 75 to 125 is your average shot. I find. So depending on what you're going for, but that's about the average. Okay, so a red dot, like that's what I had on my Ruger SR556, SR762 for contract shooting. Perfect. It did the job every time, and I didn't need any magnification. Okay, we'll go to another one here. Another one here from RNA Roger. Are there any good collectors clubs in South Australia you happen to know of? Mate, I don't. The only one that I have anything to do with is the collectors club that Shooters Union run, and that's based here in Queensland. I believe that they're trying to expand, but you'd have to contact them and ask them. I really don't know of anything down in South Australia. Perhaps any of you guys watching from South Australia or who have knowledge of this could answer that question. Matt White, any chance of a Seiko 90 varmint review? Yes, that's what's coming in 22 to 50. So you'll see that over the coming month or so. JB, recommendation on a range shooting bolt action in 308 under $1,500. How much are tickers now? I think they're a bit over that, unfortunately. That would be what pops into my head of something really, really good. Look, guys, I know a lot of people do say, like, oh, it's a Ruger, but like a lot of the Rugers under that price bracket shoot really well. Honestly, for what they make for the price, I don't know how they offer what they make for the price a lot of the time. It must just be that real turnover and that smaller margin on top, because, geez, they make some good stuff. Yes, I'm a Ruger fan. Some Rugers I haven't liked in the past, but in general, I really like them. Have a look at like the Ruger Americans, mate, that'll definitely get you under that price bracket, and even you could possibly put on a scope, a lower end scope for that price. But yeah, that if you go up a little bit over that, I would definitely, like, if you go for a ticker, mate, you're not going to be sorry. I mean, every ticker, every single one of them that I've reviewed just shoots. It kind of gets a little bit boring because I go, yeah, this will be another half-inch shooter at 100, and 9 times out of 10 they are, so they're really good. Okay, let's have a look here. Yong Bing. Hey, Aussie, what would you recommend for pest control up in the Blue Mountains? I have a mate whose place I crash at and he has chickens, but foxes keep getting in and butchering his 70+ chickens. All right. One, I'd reinforce that coop because obviously there's a problem if that's happening. But mate, with that sort of thing, like with foxes, you can try it a couple of ways. Yes, you can spotlight them, okay, but use a red filter. All right, on the light, it'll give you a big advantage, and you can call them in. Now, there's fox whistles that obviously bring them in, but a lot of the time you can almost make the noise of a rabbit in distress, and you'll be able to bring them in as well. So if you don't have any night vision or thermal, then obviously you're going to have to do that scan around with the red filtered light, and then you might have a chance of doing picking something up from there. But keep in mind, mate, that saying like cunning as a fox, like sometimes they are very, very hard to get, especially if they're an older fox. They're an older fox for a reason because they've been very cunning all their life and they've learnt the tricks of the trade, so to speak, that we try to pull over their eyes. All right, let's have a okay. A few guys saying like ticker, a great ticker around 1800 plus. Yeah, I thought it was somewhere around about there. Okay, let's go to another question. So Rat Boy here, thermal or night vision? Look, once again, it depends on what you're doing. I mean, obviously thermal you can use through the day as well. So there's a big uh, a big advantage to that. However, with me, I'd actually like to try some of the clip-on thermals over like a normal day scope, because I really don't want to have just a dedicated firearm with a thermal on it. I'd like to have that option of using the firearm I like and then simply having that clip-on piece to put onto the day scope and then have that thermal capability. Okay. MF, disappointed in the Taipan. Has Southern Cross Small Arms reached out? Yep, I got a email from the owner there, and I said to him, look, quite happy to have a look at a newer, not model, but a newer serialized one. And yeah, not much has come out of it at all. It's sort of the communication's gone dead, and I don't chase companies at all. A lot of them think that I have some obligation to chase them and all the rest of it. No, not at all. So unless they follow up and want to, put something concrete down, well, like I say, I don't follow them. Okay. ASDF man said here that FHUC, okay, I don't know that, but FHUC Outdoors tested the Taipan and his one broke apparently. Well, look, yeah, like guys, like it's no secret. You just read the comments there on that review. There are so many people. I mean, I even had a friend of mine who said that there was problems in the shop. Like just looking at one over the counter, and then somebody else had made a comment about having a very similar problem with it jamming up in the shop, and then the dealer had to take it out the back and work on it to try to open the action. Things like that, guys. Yeah, very disappointing. But playing devil's advocate here, like I don't want to just bag the firearm or the company by any means, but some of the newer models, sorry, not newer models, I'll correct myself there. The newer serial numbers, people have said there's no problem with theirs. But then other people have said, yeah, they have with some of the latter numbers. So, look, it is what it is. What more can I say, guys? I don't work for the company. Yeah, it is sad. I think there's a lot of potential in the firearm, and as I said, I hope that they clear up or iron out some of the issues that a lot of people have posted about that they've had, and more than happy to have a look at one, once those issues are sorted. Okay, what else do we got here? All right, so MF has said also opinions on the lever release stuff coming out in the future. Look, I think it's a way of the future because, shooters here in Australia, obviously since 1996, have been looking for options to have, faster follow-up shots so that when they're out shooting, should they need to take a second or third shot quickly, they can do so. I'll say this now, guys. This is probably, this is on point here with this type of stuff. Now, I've met with a lot of politicians in doing this, and I've spoken a lot about gun laws, and a lot of the time they just look at you blankly because they have no idea naturally. Like they're not shooters, or a lot of them aren't, so they just don't have any idea. So they do cave very much to public opinion and emotional catchphrases and everything else, mainly being community safety, etc., etc. And they hide behind that. They hide their limited knowledge behind those catchphrases. So where I'm going with this one is talking about, like lever release firearms and all the rest of it. What I do understand, putting myself in the shoes of a lot of these politicians who have very limited knowledge about firearms, they see like an AR-15 with a 30-round magazine, and that to them is just pure evil. They don't care about the facts. Like I'm telling you, they do not care about the facts about that firearm. All they know is it invokes emotion in the community, and that it's the big bad black rifle that kills school children. That's their view. And I say, okay, well, look, I can understand if you don't want to spend the time and actually do the research and have the facts on those firearms and the way they function, and compare that to other firearms that we've got. But where I seem to always get them on is their hatred for detachable magazines. That's the big thing, the high capacity detachable magazine. So then immediately I come in and I say, okay, well, what about the tubular magazines? And they don't really seem to have a massive problem with tubular magazines. However, they did with the Adler, over 5 rounds, remember? But in general, tubular magazines compared to detachable magazines in the eyes of those people, if they have to choose one, they would definitely go, yep, tubular magazine, much better, takes longer to load, etc., etc. So, I get that in the sense of where their argument is coming from, having limited knowledge. But my argument back with all this sort of thing is like, instead of having to put up with just Turkish made firearms with lever releases, button releases, all the rest of it, like it'd be just so much better in my view if we just had like our tube fed semi-autos back, like the Remington 7400 or 7400, as some people know it by. It was low capacity, like 4 or 5 shots, depending on what caliber you got. It was semi-auto. There's like, what about the Ruger 44 carbine? Like, I mean, it only held 4 rounds semi-auto, but perfect, so you're out shooting and you just don't interrupt that sight alignment, like by having to manually operate an action. You just don't have that issue. You can just squeeze those shots off and just make accurate, shot placement on game. So, yeah, I look at it and I just shake my head. I mean, the other thing that I shake my head about as well is look at New Zealand. I mean, everything that's gone on over there, and we've even had people from the firearms registries here flying over there, advising on what their new gun laws should be and helping implement all that. Yet you go to New Zealand and they still have our equivalent of Category C freely available under Category A. Well, I'm just saying, like, well, why can't we have that? Like, why does it have to be restricted to people like myself as primary production or feral pest control or anything like that? Like, it just, the mind boggles, guys, with it. But we could go on about that, all night. One thing that just caught my eye here, Matt has just said here, geez, I wouldn't mind a lever release Mini 14. Absolutely. Like a button release type, thing in a Mini 14, like, because the mags are, are plentiful. That actually would be really great. Yeah. Okay, so let's just have a look at another one. So RNAO Roger has said here, as someone interested in firearms technology, I do have to ask, how exactly does a lever release even work anyway? Okay, well, it depends on the platform of the firearm, but some of them, what will happen is they're almost like gas operated. So you'll see the bolt will come back, everything will lock up, and then you've either got to hit a button or a lever, or push the button forward, which is still a lever, to actually release it. So then the bolt will go forward and then you can fire the next shot. So you are still manually having to operate that action. Therefore, it is not semi-automatic. Okay, guys, we'll just have a quick look here to see if there's anything else that's, standing out. I think that'll probably be about it for this for this month, guys. So look, we'll leave the Q&A at that. We won't keep waffling on, but guys, look, I really appreciate your company on a Saturday night. I hope you all, just putting your feet up at home and enjoying, just some downtime and relaxing with family and everything like that. So we'll finish it off there, and keep an eye out for the new reviews. I've got a bit on over this next week, but I'll be jumping right back into the reviews and getting a few more shorts up there as well, and posting a few pics of what I'm up to. So once again, look, thanks very much for all of your support and everything. It does mean a lot to me, a hell of a lot. And as I've said, even with the guys that support me on Patreon, which is open to anyone naturally, if it's $1 a month, I don't care. If it's $100 a month, obviously that's awesome. Thank you very much. But it's just support in general I appreciate. Even those people that don't donate, but just simply are there in a lot of the comments on a lot of the reviews, showing their support and everything. It actually does mean a lot. You put yourself in my shoes, guys, like any other creator on YouTube or wherever, to receive that support just absolutely means the world to me. And especially when I do get messages from the younger shooters in our community, and I do go out of my way to help them no matter what. It really impresses me when they say I'm the reason that they've decided to get into shooting. That means a lot to me, because without them, we have no future in shooting, and our focus should heavily be on the younger shooters, in my view, so we can ensure that there is something that will be kept alive. And one thing I will add to, guys, sorry, I guess I'm sort of going off on a tangent here, but for those of you who go out to ranges and all the rest of it like that, there seems to be a lot of silly things that do happen at ranges from time to time. And what I mean by that is, like, for example, one, you'll see women being taken to the range, and their partners or whoever's with them think it's absolutely hilarious to put them behind a 30-06 or a 308, and then next minute the scope comes back and cracks them in the eye, and they're laughing and they just think it's absolutely hilarious, and all you're doing is just destroying that person's enjoyment of using a firearm. So where I'm going with this, doesn't matter if they're female, male, I don't care, or a child, so to speak. Start them on a 22, show them the fun of shooting, the fundamentals of shooting, the trigger control, your breathing, and get them interested in using something that's not going to hurt their ears, not going to hurt their shoulder, and then go up, if you wish, if they have an interest in it down the track, to those centerfire calibers from there. We really need to all join in this together, guys, because this division and their arguments and everything like that in the shooting world is just pathetic. It really is, because these politicians and anti-gunners are just sitting back going, how easy is this? Look at these bunch of idiots just doing the work for us. And that's what's happening. So, it ties in with my view on getting younger shooters into the shooting community. Spend time with them. Be patient. Don't scream down their neck when they make a mistake or whatever like that. Because for people, especially in this younger generation who have been raised around such anti-gun rhetoric, of course they're going to be nervous. Be patient with them. Put yourself in their shoes. Get them interested and secure our sport for the future. That's all I can say on that, guys. So hopefully one day everyone will sort of, share my view or very similar, and we can start taking back lost ground, because we've got the numbers to do it. So, I'll leave that with everyone to ponder on and think about on this Saturday night. Once again, thank you very, very much for all of your support, guys, and we'll catch you on the next review.